My mom looked me straight in the eye and said, "Choose your dreams, or your family. And if you choose wrong, don't ever call me your mother again." I remember standing there, completely frozen, wondering how a parent could say something so sharp, so heavy, and so final. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't anger. It was a decision she had already made long before she said the words out loud. In that moment, something inside me broke. But something else woke up. I realized she wasn't trying to guide me, she was trying to control me. And if I wanted any kind of future, I had to walk away from the person who was supposed to protect me. But what she didn't know was this. I wasn't walking away defeated. I was walking away to build the perfect revenge. I grew up in a house where love was never freely given. It always came with a condition, a rule, or a reminder of what I owed. My mom wasn't the warm, supportive kind of parent people imagine. She was the type who believed affection had to be earned, through perfect grades, perfect manners, and a perfect image that made her look good. If I brought home a trophy, she hugged me. If I made a small mistake, she acted like I had embarrassed the entire family. Everything I did felt like a test I could fail at any moment. She controlled everything, what I wore, how I spoke, who I was allowed to be friends with. She called it protecting me, but it felt more like she was shaping me into a version of herself. Anytime I disagreed, she guilt-tripped me. Anytime I asked for space, she acted like I didn't love her. And as I grew older, something inside me started pushing back. I wanted to make my own choices, my own life, my own identity. But in her eyes, independence was the same as betrayal. That's when the real conflict began. Growing up, I kept one dream quietly tucked inside me. A dream that didn't fit into my mother's perfect little world. It wasn't the career she wanted, the lifestyle she imagined, or the path she had planned out long before I even understood what choices meant. But it was mine. And for the first time, I wanted something for myself. When I finally gathered the courage to tell her, she didn't even let me finish. She laughed first, then sighed like I had disappointed her on purpose. She called my dreams silly, unrealistic, a phase I'd grow out of. To her, anything she couldn't control was automatically a mistake. I tried explaining why it mattered to me. I tried showing her I had thought it through. But every word I said just made her angrier. She told me I was being dramatic. She told me I didn't understand life. She told me my dream would ruin the family's reputation. And that's when I realized something important. She wasn't rejecting my dream. She was rejecting the idea of me having a life that didn't revolve around her. That moment became the spark that started everything. The fight built up slowly, but the explosion came fast. One evening, she cornered me in the living room, her voice low but sharp, like she had been rehearsing this moment. She asked me again about my plans, hoping I had come to my senses. When I didn't back down, her expression changed, cold, controlled, almost satisfied. That's when she delivered the ultimatum. Choose your dreams, or your family. And if you choose wrong, don't ever call me your mother again. The room went silent. I felt my stomach drop like the ground under me had shifted. I kept waiting for her to laugh or soften or say she didn't mean it. But she just stared at me, completely calm, as if she had finally solved a problem. For her, this wasn't a moment of anger. It was a decision. A punishment. A way to remind me that everything I had, home, stability, love, belonged to her, not me. I stood there, shocked, hurt, and confused. But beneath all of that, something else grew, something stronger. If she wanted me to choose, I would. And the choice I made would change everything. Walking out of that house felt like stepping into cold air without a jacket. I had a small bag, a little money, and a dream that suddenly felt heavier than ever. I kept telling myself I was strong enough. But the world doesn't bend for people starting from nothing. I moved into a tiny, cheap room where the walls were thin and the nights felt even thinner. I worked long shifts at whatever jobs I could find, cleaning, stocking, delivering, anything that paid enough to survive. Some days I was too tired to think, too drained to hope. I tried calling my mom once. She didn't pick up. The second time she blocked me. That silence hurt more than her words. Every failure felt personal. Every setback made me wonder if she was right, if my dream really was useless. And some nights, lying on a thin mattress, I almost believed it. But something inside me refused to break. A small voice kept saying, "If you quit now, she wins." So even at rock bottom, even when everything felt impossible, I held on to that one stubborn spark. And that spark became the start of everything that came next. Hitting the bottom didn't destroy me, it stripped everything unnecessary away. I stopped trying to prove anything to my mother. I stopped trying to get her approval. Instead, I focused on myself for the first time in my life. I worked during the day and at night I studied. Tutorials, books, online courses, anything that brought me closer to the dream she mocked. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. Silence became my shield and progress became my answer to every insult she had ever thrown at me. I failed a lot in the beginning. Projects collapsed, deadlines slipped, ideas fell apart. But each failure taught me something new. And slowly I started improving. Slowly the dream began to take shape. I realized my revenge didn't need to be loud. It didn't need to be dramatic. It just needed to be undeniable. Every step forward reminded me that I didn't need her permission to live my own life. I didn't need her validation to move forward. She thought cutting me off would break me. But all it did was push me into becoming someone she could never control again. And that was the first real victory of my plan. Once the foundation was set, things finally started to shift. My first small win felt unreal. An approval email, a paid project, a chance to prove I could actually do this. It wasn't big money, but it was mine. A result of my effort, not her pressure. With each project I got better. With each month I saved more. With each milestone my confidence grew. Soon I wasn't just surviving. I was building something real. Opportunities started coming in, slowly at first, then all at once. People noticed my work. My name started carrying weight. I was no longer the child begging for approval. I was someone creating my own path. But here's the part that made it all sweeter. I never told my mother a single thing. No updates. No calls. No proof of how far I'd come. My silence became louder than any argument we ever had. While she expected me to crawl back home defeated, I was shaping a future far beyond anything she imagined. A future she had tried to stop. And as my success grew, I knew one thing for certain. The power dynamic had finally shifted. I wasn't done. I was just getting started. It took time, but eventually the silence broke, not from my side but from theirs. One afternoon I got a message from a relative I hadn't spoken to in years. Then another. And another. All saying the same thing in different words. Your mom wants to talk to you. She's been asking about you. She misses you. But I knew what they weren't saying out loud. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of me she could command. As my name started circulating, as people began praising my work, my family suddenly acted like they had always believed in me. They shared my achievements with neighbors like proud supporters, without ever mentioning how I started alone, empty-handed. Some even hinted that my mom was bragging about me now, showing screenshots, telling stories, pretending she had been the guiding force behind everything. It was almost funny. When I needed them, they disappeared. When they needed me, they remembered my number. I listened to their messages with a calmness I never had before. Because now the power wasn't in their hands. It was in mine. And I knew exactly how I wanted to use it next. When I finally decided to return home, it wasn't out of longing or guilt. It was because I was ready. Ready to face the place that once made me feel small. Ready to meet the woman who believed cutting me off would crush my entire future. The moment I walked through the door, my mom's attitude shifted instantly. She smiled too wide, spoke too sweetly, acted like nothing had ever happened. As if the ultimatum, the silence, the rejection, none of it existed. She touched my arm like we were close. She asked questions like she cared. But her eyes gave her away. She wasn't welcoming me back. She was trying to pull me back under her control. Then came the real reason she wanted me there. She needed help. Financial help, reputation help, stability. Something. Suddenly, the child she threw away was the successful one, the responsible one, the pride of the family. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel intimidated. I wasn't scared of disappointing her. I wasn't desperate for her approval. I just watched her speak, knowing she needed me more now than I had ever needed her. And that changed everything. The moment had come. The same words my mom once used to control me now hung in the air. But this time I held the power. Calmly I looked her in the eye and said, I'll help. But only if you respect my dreams. If not, pretend you never had a child. She froze. Her mouth opened then closed. No quick rebuttal, no sharp tone, no manipulation. For the first time she was silent. The weight of her own words landed back on her. The same words she had once wielded like a weapon against me. I realized then that revenge wasn't about hurting her. It wasn't about proving her wrong with anger or spite. It was about showing her accountability, showing her that control has limits and respect is non-negotiable. Everything I had built, every late night, every struggle, every failure turned lesson. It led to this moment. Her attempt to control me had only fueled my rise. And now she had to face it. For the first time, the ultimatum didn't scare me. It didn't intimidate me. It belonged to me and I decided the terms. The table had turned. And I had won without raising my voice. After that day, life felt different. I wasn't just the child my mother once tried to control. I was someone who had built a future on my own terms. My successes were no longer private victories. They were undeniable proof that I could thrive without anyone's approval, even hers. The family began treating me differently. Suddenly, respect came naturally. People acknowledged my achievements, sought my advice, and wanted to be around me. The same relatives who once ignored my struggles now noticed me, but it no longer mattered. I didn't need their validation. My mother, she changed too, though not entirely. Some things were genuine: hesitation, a newfound respect, maybe even pride. Some things were just habit, the same ways of controlling she had always known. But for the first time I had the choice. I didn't have to let her words define me or my life. I realized the truth about revenge. It isn't about breaking someone else. It's about reclaiming yourself. Turning pain into growth, betrayal into strength, and ultimatums into lessons. I had done that. And now nothing could ever take it away. I chose my dreams. And that choice became my ultimate victory. Looking back, the cruel ultimatum my mom gave me wasn't just a challenge. It was a turning point. It forced me to confront who I truly was, who I wanted to become, and what I was willing to fight for. At first, it felt like rejection. Later, it became the fire that drove me forward. Revenge, I learned, isn't about anger or making someone else suffer. True revenge is about transformation. It's about proving to yourself that no one else can dictate your worth or your path. It's about taking pain, betrayal, and control and turning them into a life you can be proud of. I didn't just survive my mother's cruelty, I thrived despite it. I built a future on my own terms, achieved things she doubted I ever could, and gained a freedom she had tried to deny me. If there's one lesson I want anyone listening to take away, it's this. You can't always choose your parents, your family, or the circumstances you're born into. But you can choose yourself. You can choose your dreams. And sometimes that choice is the greatest revenge of all.